In the midst of winter, I found there was, within me, an invincible summer, and that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there is something stronger, something better, something pushing right back. Albert Camus. Today I want to discuss winter loneliness in China because, yeah, I've talked about it before. So this episode is going to be building upon the very first episode of this podcast, loneliness in China. I think it's so important to talk about how this feeling intensifies during summer because, look, God, I don't know how to say it, but man, someone like me, which comes from a place that lacks winter. Yeah, seriously, I come from a tropical country and we don't have seasons. I didn't even know there were seasons before I came to China. I knew, of course, but I never experienced them. I just literally bought clothes. I don't even know what winter clothes wear. Like, why would anyone buy winter clothes? Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that during winter, people will feel alone. It's inevitable. I think that some people manage it better than others. But because, the dynamics, there's a shift in dynamics and it's so noticeable because during the semester, there are bustling activities surrounding us. Yet come winter and it feels as though everyone disappears. And, this sudden solitude can be challenging to deal with. Some opt to return back home because they can see that there's pretty much nothing else to do in China. But I know that's not an option for everyone because there are financial constraints, such as, or specifically, pricey flight tickets. So, you might not be able to go back home, or you might be able to buy a ticket, but it doesn't make any sense, especially if you're here for only just 1 year. And I think something that makes it even worse is the so well-known or not so well-known seasonal affective disorder, aka SAD. And man, I don't know if you're listening to this during winter or not. I don't even know if there are people listening out there, but man, if you're feeling lonely, I know this sounds like the biggest cliche ever, the most bullshit advice out there, but reaching out and organizing activities during winter can help. Now you got to keep in mind that everyone everyone has their own lives. Not everyone will be eager to hang out with you, because some might prefer their own company or they have other priorities, and that's okay. But the thing is that isolating yourself further can worsen loneliness. So you gotta try things to break the cycle. As the Chinese saying goes, if the old doesn't go, the new one won't come. In Chinese is 旧的不去，新的不来. So while this podcast might not solve your feelings of loneliness, I just gotta tell you that you're not alone in feeling this way. Winter can be a time for self-exploration and growth. And yes, it's tough, but I'm sure that by the end of it, you'll have learned something new about yourself. And personally, sometimes I was so desperate during winter that I was looking forward to start the semester for routine and distraction from loneliness. And man, traveling wasn't my thing. Plus, man, I was on a budget, right? So I couldn't go crazy. I traveled, of course. Man, I hate traveling. By the way, there's this article, man. It's a freaking tangent again, but there's this article from the New York Times called "A Case Against Traveling." You should look it up on Google. It's very interesting and very controversial. But anyway, I was on a budget, and I didn't like traveling particularly because it costed money, right? And I had to become very frugal because I was on a scholarship, right? And even if you're not on a scholarship, I think most people in China, unless you're, fucking loaded, you are on a limited budget as well. So, for me, man, like I said, I come from a tropical country and I hadn't experienced such a drastic, weather change. It was I mean, I never had to think about seasons back home, I'm telling you. And this lack of sunlight, this is something that you have to take into consideration because it's often ignored. I think that the lack of sunlight really inhibits vitamin D production. it stops the production. And man, that vitamin D is crucial for regulating mood. So seriously, man, you gotta prioritize activities that involve sunlight exposure, like outdoor exercise, and or taking the freaking vitamin D supplements. I know that there's a lot of people there saying that vitamins are bullshit, and there probably are, but you might as well take them, or not. It's whatever. I take, what I take? I take sea fish oil capsules. Man, I think that with vitamin D, and I'm not trying to sell you anything, honestly. You do whatever floats your boat, right? You gotta do something to prevent feeling sad or seasonal affective disorder, right? And anyway, man, I think that addressing winter loneliness, man, it requires you to take proactive steps. Particularly for extroverts like myself. Well, sometimes I'm an ambivert. But anyway, the thing is that while some people choose to travel during winter holidays, not everyone has the means or the desire to do so. And man, like, so then you're going to have to choose plan B, which is, well, staying where you are and trying to make the best out of your experience where you are. And man, like, you can tell that there are a lot of people out there who are going through the same winter loneliness, because, man, what's the first sign? Random WeChat messages from people that rarely reach out. Man, if someone is like, hey, how are you? Are you in Shanghai? Are you in Beijing? Are you in Nanjing? Are you in Suzhou? Wherever you live. Man, you know where that is going, man. That's just people trying to reach out. And you know what? It's a noble attempt to connect, man. If you feel like connecting with these kind of people, then go ahead and connect. But, some people might have different expectations of the type of connection they want to have with you, and you gotta set clear boundaries and express yourself how often you're willing to hang out, because, man, I know it's fun to hang out. Some people are willing to hang out with you every single day, but I guess that sometimes you just want some space, right? And yeah, but like I said before, experiencing loneliness in winter will vary. God damn it, depending on your personality, right? Because extroverts may find staying indoors really difficult, particularly during the isolating holiday season. During winter. And man, I know for a fact that many extroverts out there, they seek refuge in bars or clubs. And on the other hand, introverts, they may be more comfortable at home, but can still be affected by the lack of routine, which leads to longing for home. Those I don't know, man, like the holiday celebrations. You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about those family dinners, right? The Christmas, and man, like, the best holidays happen in December and in January and February, March. It's just so hard, and I don't know. I just want to say that regardless of how you feel during the holidays, man, you gotta express these feelings somehow. Can either be to friends and family who will provide support, most likely. I know that some people might be a little bit hesitant to share these feelings with friends or family, fearing that they might be burdening other people or making people worry about you. But I think that messages from people can provide some comfort, and ultimately reaching out and connecting with others, it's really vital for combating loneliness. So, the thing is that sometimes you're going to fail to connect with people. That's inevitable. I think that it's inevitable because, people have their own circles, their own social circles, their own priorities, their own activities, and their own people that they know and they're comfortable with. And man, I know that there's some people out there that try to hang out with others, ask others to go out, and if they get rejected once or twice, they will stop trying altogether. And I get it, man. I don't give up, man. I would ask a person 3 times to go out. If that person says no 3 times in different occasions without providing any alternative option, then I will never ask again. But I will try with someone else. It doesn't matter. I think that even though for me it doesn't matter, there are a lot of people out there who are not very excited about the idea to proactively ask others to hang out, right? And then it's a little bit contradicting because you feel left out, but at the same time you make no efforts to connect with others, right? But I guess this is a natural part of life, right? I think that what this really tells you is that your experience in China is shaped by your efforts. And man, like connecting with people may require you to step out of your comfort zone. And you're going to have to start doing things that you might find cringy yourself, like starting conversations with strangers. But sometimes you're going to make these sacrifices and face discomfort because they might take you to very awkward feelings, but at the same time, it might make your day, I'm telling you. I believe that people are basically good. And, man, like, everyone likes, not everyone maybe, but I'm sure that a casual conversation will not harm anyone. So even if you feel like you're not being yourself, you gotta really try to connect. You gotta drag yourself. If you're not comfortable with this winter loneliness, you really gotta drag yourself out of it. So anyway, this leads me to the next point, which is developing friendships. And I think that prior or in preparation to the winter holidays, it's so crucial for you to develop friendships, particularly with Chinese people. And man, I know it's hard to make friends with the Chinese. They are very shy sometimes, and it's not like they're going out of their way to befriend Lao Wai, to befriend expats, right? But I'm telling you right now, if you ever manage to make one Chinese friend, and this Chinese friend considers you their friend, this motherfucker will be your friend until the day he dies. He will be loyal to you. I'm telling you, he or she will be with you and support you and show you the best side of China. And this is precious. You gotta really treasure your Chinese friends, man. I'm not saying that, expats are shit, but, like there are many things that expats cannot show you about China, right? And, man, sometimes there are certain things that only a Chinese person can help you. So, sometimes, what really works, man? I know it sounds cringy, but playing the dump card, the dump Lao Wai card sometimes. Man, if you want to talk to someone, man, like, man, I remember the kind of like cringy stuff that I would do. I would go to McDonald's and then I would just, open my Chinese book and start studying there, and then I'll just ask a stupid question. Oh man, like, can you tell me what is the meaning of this character? And man, looking back at it, I think it's probably one of the most cringy things that I've ever done in order to connect with a Chinese person. But I think that knowing the Chinese and their humble nature and their and how enthusiastic they are towards foreigners, I bet that many of them probably pee their pants because a foreigner talked to them. And I made their day somehow. And then they, people love feeling that they're helping others. So if you're lost in the streets, or even if you're not, man, just pretend you're lost and be like, hey, man, where's the metro station? And it's like, dude, you are in the metro station. Not like that, but you know what I'm saying, right? Just makes these innocent mistakes, right? That can they can make you cross paths with your next Chinese friend. And if it's the holidays, man, if it's specifically the winter holiday, what's gonna happen, right? There's a chance that your Chinese friend is gonna take you back home, right? And you're gonna have dinner at your Chinese friend's home. And I've done that so many times, man. And it's an amazing experience. I've attended weddings and parties of all kinds because of my Chinese friends that otherwise, man, if I would have only befriended foreigners, I would have missed out on so many experiences, I'm telling you right now. So anyway, I just want to say that if you realize that you're lonely, most likely it's because you are, right? Well, sometimes you might be surrounded by people, but you still feel lonely. But that's another topic that I discussed in the very first episode of this podcast. But sometimes for lonely people, it seems like it's too late, right? As everyone else already has plans or company. But that doesn't mean you should stop reaching out, seriously. Even if it's just for a coffee, let people know that you're around. Seriously, you gotta make yourself heard. Because if you you isolate yourself, others will forget about you, which is just human nature. Seriously, we are out of sight, out of mind. If you know what they say: if you don't fuck around, you don't find out, and the more you fuck around, the more you find out. So you gotta be there, man. Who was it? I think it was Woody Allen, the one who said like 90% of the work is just showing up. Man, sometimes you just gotta show up. Seriously, man, just be present somewhere and make yourself known. And man, you will have some happy accidents and meet amazing people. And sometimes these connections are gonna be ephemeral, but that's fine. They're gonna shape your China experience in one way or another. And but yeah, I think that there are many ways to cope with loneliness, and that's why you have to plan ahead of time, precisely, right? There are many ways in which people keep themselves busy in China, but I think that like I said before, foreigners usually resort to the same kind of things, which is either traveling or drinking, and for some people they don't have the chance to either travel or they cannot afford to drink every single day, which by the way you shouldn't be doing that. But like there are also other options. Like, man, sometimes you can just cook a meal together with someone, watch a movie, exploring activities that spark joy. Like, I don't know, man, reading a book with someone, joining a club. If you're in a tight budget, your friends will likely appreciate activities that don't require spending a lot of money, especially in a big city where going out can be expensive. And yeah, I think that one key is to make it easy for people to connect with you. And some may reject your invitations, but others will appreciate the effort. I think that loneliness is so common and it's so important to talk about that, man. Like I think that more and more people are feeling the necessity to speak about it. I feel like it's becoming normalized to discuss these topics, especially among the expat sphere. And man, like, I know that sometimes connections may not happen because of different circumstances or priorities, but it's worth trying. If you're feeling lonely this winter or anytime, please don't give up. Prepare, reach out, and remember that you're not alone in feeling this way. Thank you for listening. This was Chimsy. Until next time.